This is a production of Cornell University.
All right. We're going to have the panel discussion up next, and I'm going to ask Mr. Jeff Chang to come back to the stage to introduce our panelists, our pioneers, our most esteemed guests. Give them a round of applause, please.
Okay, so it's my honor to be able to introduce to you this panel, which I gotta say, it's never been assembled before. This is not just hip-hop history in the collection, but hip-hop history right on stage in a few seconds here. So I want you all to cheer really loud when I mention these people's names. First, we're gonna bring up Johan Kugelberg, the person that assembled this hip-hop collection here at Cornell University. He's gonna kind of serve, yes, please. Johan is asking me to say that he is a non-pioneer. He and I are going to kind of tag team with the questions here. A lot of you have submitted questions via the web, and also some of you filled out cards, so we're going to have that portion of it as well. But the first person I'd like to introduce today is the person that could be, in a lot of ways, along with Johan, the person most responsible for this collection being here at Cornell. He was the first hip-hop photographer. If you've seen the book, Born in the Bronx, and don't own it, you should buy the book, Born in the Bronx, so you can see it as you own it. And he can sign it here as well, right? You'll be here to sign it. The table's up front, right at the registration area. But his stuff is amazing, and he continues to photograph. He's exhibited everywhere around the world. Please give it up for Joe the photographer, Joe Conzo. The next person I have the pleasure of introducing is somebody who started off responding to a record, became huge off of that, did a record that was a revenge record, an answer record to end all arguments and to start all on-record beefs in a lot of respects. She went on to become the queen of the Juice Crew, Big Mama, and now she has PhD, Dr. Roxanne Shante. Next person I get to introduce is the Senior Vice President of Rocksteady Crew. He's also from Universal Zulu Nation. He is a master teacher, got to start with the Magnificent Force, but he's somebody who is one of those elders that's constantly in the community giving back all the time. Can you please give it up for Jorge, Popmaster Fable, Pabon. The next person I have coming up is Luis Cedeno, who's better known as DJ Disco Wiz, the first Latino DJ in hip-hop. I got to mention, too, he's got a new book coming out next spring, is it? Something like that? 2009. It's called It's Just Begun, The Epic Journey of DJ Disco Wiz, the first Latino DJ. It's on Powerhouse Books. Cop that. All right? Next person I get to introduce is the first female MC soloist in hip-hop. She started off with Kool Herc's Herculords. She did a couple records. She did a Fly Guy, another awesome anthem record. She also did a record with her brother, Master Don, and the Committee, Funkbox Party. Please give it up for Pebbly Pooh. Next we have DJ Tony Tone, who founded the Cold Crush Brothers in the Bronx in 1979, and He's just one of the greatest folks of all time, one of the greatest rhymers of all time, DJ Tony Tone, Cold Crush Brothers. Sound controller, master of the universe, Tony Tone. Next we have the person who, as a young man, invented the thing that we know as the Wicca Wicca Scratch. Grand Wizard Theodore is a member of the L Brothers and the Fantastic Five. Please give it up for the man who made the scratch possible. Grand Wizard Theodore. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Grandmaster Kaz, a.k.a. Casanova Fly, who began his DJ career in 1974 and along with Tony Tone and Charlie Chase was one of the original members of the Cold Crush Brothers, one of the greatest rappers of all time, Grandmaster Kaz. All the way official, all the way official. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to give it up for the man who has inspired all of us in so many deep kinds of ways. One of the main reasons that we see hip-hop as a global force that it is, the founder of the organization, the founder of the Universal Zulu Nation, Afrika Bambaataa, the godfather of hip-hop. History, Cornell. This is history. Thank you. Thanks to all of you. So we've got a wonderful session here. I just want to have Johan actually set it off, if you will. Why don't you put the mic up to your, so people can hear.
Bam. Can you set me straight on the actual first jam? Because 1976 wasn't the date, right?
Well, one. Yeah. Well, basically, I started DJing before there was even a name called hip-hop in the year of 1970. And when we started to call this hip-hop culture in the year of 1973.
I want to, yeah. Why not? Why not give it up? I want to ask everybody on the panel, maybe if you could just talk about your first hip-hop moment, and maybe in that sense give folks a little bit of the history of hip-hop that has been least recorded, the years from 1973, on up to the dawn of the recorded era. And
Wiz,
anybody feel free to jump in.
That one with your first defining hip-hop moment in your life.
Well, you have to understand that for me is more profound than that. Hip-hop for me is my inspiration, the soundtrack of my life. And by saying that, I'm probably saying too much because I lived a whole life before hip-hop came around. How Johan touched earlier on the economic and social backdrop that we all grew up in, times were tough. So, I mean, we had to do what we had to do just to survive, just to get home, just to go to school. And, we have volatile home fronts. And, hip-hop for me became my first structure. Before that, I was probably a young, wild kid running around the Bronx aimlessly, just not knowing what I was looking for. Probably before hip-hop touched me, I got into organized boxing at the PAL. And one day, I was downstairs in the gym, and I heard this overwhelming thumping, this sound, this earth-shattering thing, this presence. And I walked upstairs, and there were people just running around organizing stuff. And I said, what's going on? And the guy told me, Kool Herc is having a jam here later on tonight. And I said, Kool Herc? And this dude, I'm not gonna lie to you, he was a legend before I even saw him. So, I mean, he already had the Bronx like mesmerized. So I said, really? And the guy said, yeah, he's right there on stage. And I looked up the stage in my boxing gear, in my trunks, and just saw this huge 2 columns that reached the ceiling. And I looked at him, and he was just throwing one record after another, just practicing. And he'd spoken to the mic, and I'm not sure if any of you have seen Kool Herc. He's an immense presence. And when he said just a 1-2 check, that was it. It sent like shivers down my spine. And I was just captured by the whole moment. And I've been in that same trance now for over 33 years. So.
Kaz, why don't you pick that up too? Why don't you pick that question up? Since you guys started in '74.
Well, I too was inspired by the father of hip-hop, DJ Kool Herc. I used to live on the west side of the Bronx, and I was 13 years old when that first hip-hop jam was given by him at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue. And the whole west side of the Bronx was buzzing with anticipation and excitement, hearing about this party, this epic party that was given on the night of August 11th in 1973. I was a b-boy at the time, and I used to dance with a group of guys known as the Casanova Crew. And everybody in the group name was Casanova something. And in order to be in the group, you had to pick a Casanova name. So my name was Casanova Fly. And I was, my first real introduction, I think, into hip-hop is when my friend Troy, who used to call himself JJ Hollywood, used to bring his turntable over to my house. And then he had one turntable, and I had one turntable. And we used to try to do what Kool Herc used to do at the parties. We didn't know what a mixer was at the time, so he would turn his down slowly, and I would turn mine up slowly. And that's how we would DJ. And I was at one of those summers that you reach, during puberty when you grow up like 7 inches over the summer. So I kind of retired very quickly from that b-boy thing. And once I saw Kool Herc DJ indoors in an inside venue, that was it for me. That changed my life. And like Wiz said, I've been on a roller coaster ever since.
Pebbly Poo. Pebbly, would you like to share some memories of Herc and the Herculords in the early days? Because you were the first female MC with that crew, right?
Yes. Hey, everyone. Well, I was a B-girl before I was an MC. And I didn't want to be no MC. That was a boy thing. Boy thing was breakdancing too, but I was a challenger, so I wanted to go after the guys because I knew I could dance. Now, we have a lot of ladies in the room, and we know that when we see a challenge, we going after it. So I was like, I don't want to be an MC. That's whack. I want to breakdance. So this guy, we used to be around each other all the time. He used to love when I danced. He was like, yo, you need to rap. And he wrote me 8 bars, 8 lines. And I memorized them. I hated it. But him and Tila Rock used to bang on the cars, and I was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. So I used to go to all of the talent shows and still be breakdancing. And, I would get on the mic when I go to Herc's jams when he'd be at the park. And one day he said, I went to this roller skating rink, and he said, I looked at this man, and I was like, this man has came over here. Now, I know I went to the jam, and I got on his mic, but why is he over here at the skating ring looking at me? So I kept looking at him. I kept skating around the rink, and then I seen him again. I was like, oh, my God. And he said, can I speak to you for a minute? And I was like, oh, my God. I was young. I was like, my mother said, I can't talk to So he said, you know, I heard you on the mic every time that you came to one of my jams, and I want to know if you would like to be a Herculoid. I was like, oh, who? He said, I want you to MC on the mic. I was like, you do? I was a little nervous because I only had 8 lines. And I was like, I'm going to ask Bombay to help me write some more. Next thing you know, I'm on the mic, and they liking what I'm doing. I was like, oh, fuck it. I'm going to still keep dancing, but I kind of like this. So it was really good. I didn't have a problem when I started. I really didn't. Can I say something to my ladies? Can all my ladies stand up? Y'all just stand up. This is what I like to do. Ladies, let me tell y'all something. We are beautiful. Don't let nobody ever try to tell you anything different. Y'all don't have to take off your clothes to be nobody else. Be yourself. Okay? That's my girl right there. That's Shantae.
Yeah.
That's my heart. We stick together.
I have to ask you, do you remember the 8 lines?
Oh my God.
Come on, family.
I don't know. I don't know that thing. I don't know. I wanna wait, let me see. I wanna get something straight for this chick to be. No, that's now. Good evening, everyone. Yes, how do you feel? Going to get the party jumping? Something.
I wonder if y'all could talk about. Well, actually, please continue with your first hip hop moments. We haven't heard from Theodore or
Fable?
Tone or Fable or Shantae.
Your first hip hop moment?
Joe.
Wow. All right. Well, I was born and raised in Spanish Harlem, so yeah. But I have family in the Bronx, so you know we would take trips up there. And so actually the first jam I ever experienced, hip hop jam, was in Spanish Harlem, where we had, I believe his name is Campy Love from the Black Spades. You know, used to bring out equipment and DJ at the St. Paul Street Fair. That was on 117th Street between Lexington and Park. And what can I say? I think I was like 12 years old or something. It was like 77, and I would see the B-boys. Like, Spanish Harlem was just a heartbeat away from the Bronx. You could, where I grew up on 123rd Street, you could walk 5 minutes and be over that bridge, you know. So we were experiencing very similar cultural realities, you know, the same makeup, Puerto Ricans, blacks, a couple of Dominicans, and, you know, that's how it was. So it was very colorful. What I loved the most about my early experiences of hip-hop was the fact that it was just free for everyone, you know, all age, no dress code, come as you want. You had grandmothers out there, you know, there was flipping burgers on the grill, you know. It was totally a communal thing, which is, I think, was kind of missing now, except for some of the efforts by some people that do bring it to the parks, like my wife Christy and other people.
Theodore, you want to be next? Grand Wizard Theodore, everybody.
1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Can y'all hear me? 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, they call me Shy Brother because I'm like kind of shy, you know. I would have to say, first let me say that I'm just glad to be here, you know, because there's a lot of people that that's not here to see hip hop and how far it's gone, you know, and you know, I think about these people like every time I perform and everywhere I go, and I would like to say that I was born into this culture of hip hop. Because even before I started DJing, people were b-boying, people were doing graffiti, There were other DJs out and stuff like that. So I have to say I was born into the culture. I had an older brother. His name is Mean Gene. He was down with Grandmaster Flash, and that's how I got, introduced to this culture. And my first recollection is basically when my mother moved to Boston Road, and I think it was like when she moved to Boston Road. She moved to Boston Road like 80. No, it wasn't 80. She moved to Boston Road in like 73, 74. And that's when I first got introduced to like the DJ culture as far as my brother and Grandmaster Flash is concerned. So that would have to be my first recollection of hip hop, because my brother Mean Gene and Grandmaster Flash, they introduced it to me. So that's my first recollection.
Testing. Hello, how you doing? At the age of 12, my cousin opened up a record store on 3rd Avenue and Claremont Parkway. One day we came to the record store, we opened up, and somebody had broke into it. They went in the building next door, and they went through the wall. They broke this big hole in the wall, and they robbed us. So we closed it down, and we moved up to Burnside and University. And that's when I started hearing, me being in the record store, I'm call myself DJing. I sneaked my mother's receiver out, and on the receiver got an A section and a B section. So I'm going from A for one side of the turntables and B for the other side of the turntable. And then the music would go over here. And when I go to B, the music would go over here, because I had one speaker on one side. And so now we moved the record shop up on University and Burnside. And I started hearing about this Kool Herc. And I lived on the east side of the Bronx, and Herc was from the west side. So one day I'm home on the weekend, a Sunday, and I hear Kool Herc is playing in Cedar Park. So I start walking from the east side to the west side. It's about 2 hours. But as I'm walking, I see people going the other way. And I say, is he still out there? Yes, he's still out there. As I'm walking, I see people. I say, is he still out there? He's still out there. So just as I get to Cedar Park, it's getting dark. And I hear, heck, I'm upstairs. I haven't came downstairs yet. And I hear him say, good night, that's all. So I'm like, okay. And Cedar Park, when it's dark, you don't want to be there. They call it Dust Bowl. So, all right, so now I'm still hearing about this Kool Herc. So my godbrother's like, yo, we're going to take you to the Hevalo. Someone said, what's the Hevalo? So he said, this guy Kool Herc played that. So I said, okay. But my godbrother's older than me. My brother's older than me. I'm the youngest one. But I'm taller than both of them. So they say, well, what we're going to do is I'm going to go in first. You come in second. The guy going to check me. He probably not going to check you. So that's how I got in. But as I walk into the Hevalo, it's like a whole different world. Because even though I'm in the record store all day long selling records, Earth, Wind and Fire, Solomon Burke, things like that. But everything Herc is playing, I basically never heard it, and I'm not selling it. And I'm saying, what's this? And it just was a whole change from there. And my post was right beside the DJ booth, looking to try to see but every record he put on his tape, he got the name covered. So I got to do my homework and find out, what is this? So that's my beginning of hip-hop and Kool Herc.
Good afternoon, everybody. My first introduction to hip-hop was from Tony Tone. Tony Tone and I went to high school together, and I was a high school photographer over at South Bronx High School. And I gotta be totally honest, I was a disco head. I was heavy into disco at the time. And Tony and Easy AD played on the basketball team, and they invited me to the T Connection. I'm like, what is the T Connection and where is the T Connection? And the T Connection was a club up in the West Bronx that Tony and Kaz and Charlie Chase were putting together their group, the Cold Crush Brothers. And I remember going there that night with some friends, and it's like, it was just totally a whole different world. You know, nothing but break beats and that funk and soul music, and hearing the fellas on the mic. And that's when I fell in love with hip hop. And I've just been a hip hop head ever since then. That's it.
Well,
1, 2.
Wow, am I the last person to go? Oh, okay. Oh. My first experience with hip hop, I was about 11 years old, and I was told that I had what was called the Nipsey Russell syndrome. And that's when you're able to make up rhymes about anything at any time, no matter what's going on. And it's fun when you're in the house because, you know, your mom is getting a kick out of it. Do it again, baby, do it again. Do it again, show my friends what you can do. Do it again, you know. And what happened was some guys from my projects, I grew up in the largest housing project in the world, which is Queensbridge Public Housing, 30,000 tenants on paper. So that's not including those who are not on paper. So growing up in Queensbridge Public Housing, there was always someone somewhere on some block ready to do something with you. Like, okay, you want to rhyme? This is what we're going to do. So they came to me, they approached me, some guys from the neighborhood approached me and said, listen, we heard that you can just rhyme just about anything, anywhere. And I said, yeah, but right now I got to do the laundry. So unless you want to rhyme about the laundry, and you know how my mother is, so they were like, no, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. Because what we're going to do is you're going to go and you're going to go battle these guys. And when you go and battle them, then we're going to put money up. So I hear money, so I tell my mother, Ma, they're going to pay me to go around. Oh, yeah, well, then you know what? Hold off on that laundry and go ahead and get that money. So, so my first experience was actually being a battle MC from the door. I never got a chance to pick up the microphone and just be happy holding the microphone. My rhymes I've always been in a very aggressive moment. So I came in as a battle MC. And I can recall my first time going to another housing project, and the guys were rhyming, and they were like, well, such and such and such, and take your little sister home. And then I remember them saying, like, that's your cue. Now you're supposed to go ahead. And I said, well, am I supposed to be nice? And they was like, no, never be nice. Don't worry about it. Need I say that we had to run out of the park, and they were literally dragging me. And they were literally dragging me like, we didn't tell you to say all of that. You're not supposed to talk about people's mothers. You ain't supposed to say that about their clothes. Da, da, da. So it was like a scolding all the way home, counting the money. You know, and I remember coming in the house and telling my mom, like, Ma, guess what? They wanted to fight us. They wanted to do this. She was like, are you okay? I said, yeah. She said, did you get the money? I said, yeah. And that was my first experience with hip hop.
Hip hop is like all about the battling. So I'm kind of curious, you know, in some ways, one question is, how did folks distinguish themselves, you know, when you guys are trying to come up? And what are the biggest battles that you recall that you were involved in? If you could talk about that. And whether you came out on the winning side or the losing side, whatever.
One.
Oh, go ahead, because you definitely did more than I did.
Oh, God. One. I can sit here really and tell you about the hundreds of battles that I've won and my group has won. But I want to talk about this one battle that I didn't fare so well in.
1977, my man Disco Wiz was my partner. We were DJ partners back then, and we were young and, you know, up and coming. We trying to be Kool Herc. We trying to be Bambaataa. We trying to be Flash. We trying to be as big as these names are out here. We want to be up in the ranks of those guys. Me, I want to go about it, you know, over the long run. If we work and we practice and we do what we got to do, eventually we'll make it. Wiz is like, no, let's battle them now. Let's go get them now. Let's go. So they set up this jam with us and Afrika Bambaataa at a venue called the PAL, the Police Athletic League on Webster Avenue in the Bronx. Now, in order to be a DJ back in the early days, you couldn't just walk in a party with records, okay? Thankfully, Bambaataa put an end to that. But in the early days, you had to have an entire sound system, okay? You had to have equipment, speakers, amps, records, turntables, everything. So I had this little mini set, really that was made for the house. But I didn't know then, and that was my first set. And I had a little extra speaker here and an extra speaker there, but we going to battle Bambaataa. So of course, Bambaataa set up on the stage, and we were at the other end of the gym. Now, how a DJ battle works is that the DJ, each one of you bring your sound system to a particular event. One DJ plays for an hour, the next DJ plays for an hour, and then you exchange hours. I guess whoever, you know, fares the best, if it goes that long, plays for the last hour and is declared the winner or the best DJ for that day on a particular night. Now, sometime a battle can end your career. I'm glad that this didn't, but I'm all set up. Now, we trying to make a mark. We're trying to make a presence. So we going out and we going to show Bambaataa we are somebody to be reckoned with, okay? We are Casanova Fly and Disco Wiz, damn it. So boom, the first record I play is We Will Rock You by Queen. I'm trying to make a statement, all right? So here, they go ahead, Casanova Fly, and I'm like, all right, here we go. Boom, boom, cha, boom, boom, cha, boom, boom, cha, boom, boom, cha. Money, oh boy, making big noise, playing in the street, gonna be. And then out of the blue, you hear, Casanova Fly. We can't hear you. I looked at my man Wiz. I'm like, yo, they trying to play us, man. Yo, turn the amps up, man. Turn everything up. Turn everything up, right? So down, we're gonna start all over. Boom, boom, cha. Boom, boom, cha. Boom, boom, cha. Bloody other boy making big noise, playing Casanova Fly. We still can't hear you. Is this what you're trying to play? Boom, boom, cha, boom, boom, cha. We just start pulling the chords out. Yo, let's go. We out.
Was that how you remember it too, Bambaataa?
Oh yeah, I mean, a lesser cat, he would have been done for life. You know what I mean? But we just took it as a lesson. Yo, when you come, you gotta come correct on all angles. I felt like I know I DJ better than Bambaataa. Like, yeah, right, but they gotta hear you first. So it was just another lesson learned along the road in hip hop. But like I said, I don't count the successes as much as I count those lessons learned by those failures. You know what I mean? And that was a good one, yeah.
Absolutely. Can I share one on the dancing tip?
Yeah. Test.
You going, Tone? All right. So obviously, you know, hip hop wouldn't have excelled if it wasn't for the fierce competitive nature of all the elements. But before I even tell you this story, I gotta acknowledge one of the founders of Rocksteady Crew, and that's JoJo, who's sitting right there. You know? Without him, Crazy Legs wouldn't be Rocksteady. I wouldn't be Rocksteady. It started with him, Jimmy D, Jimmy Lee, and the story goes on. Long story short, I used to battle this kid named Larry Love. How many of you familiar with a song that goes Larry Love, right? Okay. So before Larry became part of, flashing him, he was like from West Harlem, like Lenox or maybe further west. I was from East Harlem, right? So quite often, like what Roxanne Shante was saying is real. You have to be careful who you're gonna battle, and sometimes you have to go and if for instance, if you said, well, we're gonna battle you on your block, we would go a day ahead just to figure out how to run out of there. Because if you're winning, you might get your ass beat, right? So long story short, I battled him once, right? And he was just with a few of his bros. He battled me in my neighborhood, right? It was kind of a tie. I think I sort of won, but it was kind of like people were saying it was a tie. So he came back the next time, the next jam with like 10 heads, because he needed, his cheerleaders. If he's gonna come to my neighborhood, right? I had the whole block there rooting for me. So he comes with 10, boom, we battle again. It was a tie again. He came back the next time with like 30 people hollering his name before we even started battling. Larry, Larry, Larry. And we went at it. And man, for once I was kind of shook because I'm like, wow, now I'm in my neighborhood. Now, if I lose here, I'm going to have to face up to my peoples every day, walk out the projects. You lost to Larry. Oh, you lost to Larry. So I had to step up my game hardcore, and I think that was probably one of the most memorable battles because I went at him so hard that I actually convinced his 30 people that I was whooping his ass. And I won that one for real.
One, two.
One? All right.
You got it?
I had one experience. They had this flyer going around. It was just for the females. It was female battle. It was Rayvon and Johnny Wah. That's what the two guys who was given the competition. I was like, I'm gonna enter this competition because I just want to see what this is all about. It was like 40 girls, and they made me like number 38. So I was like, oh my God. So I had to sit there. I wanted to get there from the beginning. We was at this club called Mr. Souls. Now I lived in the Bronx. I didn't want to come to Harlem. So I was like, I'm gonna come because I want to go and see this, who's gonna be competing because I know I'm good. I get to the competition. I'm listening to all the females. I'm like, whack, I got this. And they paying. So I'm like, when you like a female and you got something going for you, you be like, I got this. Especially when you start looking and hearing at the people. So I'm sitting there, I'm listening. I'm like, oh, this is not working. I am going to get this. So 37 come up. I said, I'm next, right? They was like, no, we making you 40. I was like, 40? I said, by that time, everybody gonna be gone. Ain't nobody gonna be there to hear me. So I was like, this is a setup. They gonna keep the money for themselves. I'm getting ready to leave. So I'm listening. I didn't listen to all these females. Here come this female 39. I'm like, shh. She goes, 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm like, uh-oh. I was like, oh my God. Because I didn't hear any oomph in any female. It was like, hello. I was like, I got that. Then it was like, I was like, I got that. All down the line. Number 39, 1, 2, 1, 2. I was like, oh my God. I was like, let me see what she kicking. She was like, will my DJ, Mr. Freeze, come to the front? I was like, oh my God. She had a hand on her hip. She was walking back and forth. I was like, this is my competition. I can see it right now. She got up there. She did her thing. Her name was Missy D. I was like, all right. I know what I got to do. I had my DJ with me. His name was DJ Andre. I said, I need you to play my national anthem record. He was like, are you ready? You sure you can do this? I said, yes, I think I can. So everybody, they was like coming to the stage. We got MC Pebbly Pooh. So for those who heard me, they was like, yay, you know, so I was like, uh-oh. Because it didn't sound like, it was like, yay. I was like, all right. I was like, 1, 2, 1, 2. I was just calm. 1, 2, 1, 2. She was looking. She looked at me. I looked at her. She was like, I was like, I don't know what y'all came here to do, but this is what I want y'all to do. Clap your hands, everybody. Come on. And everybody, clap your hands. Everybody over there. Everybody started clapping. And see, when you start seeing people from the stage doing that and moving their head, I was like, I got this. And it was got to be real. It was like, dun-dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun. I grabbed the mic. I was like, let's go. I won. But for that 1 second, oh my God, I was like this. I got this in the beginning, and then I was hearing her, and I was like, ooh. But I won.
One, two, 1, 2. Well, basically in the year of 1977, I used to have this spot, this junior high school that we called the Funky Dree. And we was getting ready for a big battle with Grandmaster Flash. We was getting everything ready. Everybody was waiting for this. This was like the big thing. Afrika Bambaataa and Grandmaster Flash getting ready to go at it. So when we got there, we set everything up. People started coming in, the place got packed. And we just waiting and waiting. Grandmaster Flash never showed. So in the year of 1978, another brother of mine by the name of Disco King Mario, he had to have a battle with Grandmaster Flash at Monroe High School. Grandmaster Flash came in there with a crazy wall of speakers. This was something like a movie. Everybody was decked out. All the fly girls and honeys was coming all into place, waiting for this big battle, and Mario was getting nervous. And at that time, I controlled like thousands of people on the streets. So I sent the word out for help to some of the other Black Spades DJs, Tex DJ Hollywood. I bought my system, the Earthquake system. We put all the speakers together. Flash was saying, oh shit. So, you know, Flash was already getting a name for itself with some serious, furious 3 MCs. So I had to go get Starsky, Hutch. Then there was this young brother who was just as bad as my DJ, Jazzy J, by the name of Grand Wizard Deador. And Mario was, you know, he would say, oh man, Flash is gonna kick my ass. What I'm gonna do? I said, Flash, don't worry about it. Mario, don't worry about it. Because, you know, a lot of people at that time were scared to mess with the music that I'd be playing. And Grand Wizard Deador never heard none of my songs before. Never played it. And all I did was show him, here, hit it here. Wham! Boom! Hit it here. And I'm known, you know, most DJs at that time, when they play a same record for about 15 minutes. They may play Good Time 15 minutes by Chic. I was changing records every 2 minutes to 3 minutes. So, you know, when Deador was hearing that beat and that groove, he just started getting funky on Flash. Flash didn't know what to do. Then the MCs, the Starsky and Hutch was just tearing up on Melly Mel because we had a big super war system, and the groove and the sounds and the horns and everything was coming out. Flash got so pissed off, he came under the ropes, because we used to have ropes that keep people back. Came back, marched over there, he said, ma'am, you know you're wrong. You know you're wrong. You giving Deador and all of that shit, you are fucked up. That man. You can take it from here,
Yeah. Yeah, Bam got me one night. We had just started up with the Cold Crush. We had built like 6 speakers. We only had 6 speakers. And we came up in Bronx River, you know, out of respect for everybody, you know, Herc, Bam, Flash, you know. We take care of the little guys and wait for the big guys to give us a chance. Yeah, you can play with us tonight to prove ourselves. Once we prove ourselves in dusting off the little guys, we wait for Herc, Bam, and Flash to say, okay, y'all can play with us tonight. So Bam gave us the shot, come on in Bronx River and play with us. So we come in there, you know, and it ain't like that night is the party. That whole month is the party. Because it just you keep going over it in your head, what I'm going to do, you know. And we come in, Bam and them is on the stage. We set up on the left side of the gymnasium. So we going at it, and Cass gets on the turntable. And he going so fast, he go this way, and when he comes back this way, he slaps the needle, and it goes, it like shoots across the record. Zip, bang, bang, boom! And that's all you hear is He blew every speaker. Every horn. Only thing was working was the piezo tweeters. So here we go again. Mr. Biggs them get on the mic. Cold Crush, we can't hear y'all. And we standing there looking at Cass like, that was our.
That's why I'm an MC now, okay?
He's a great DJ
all that
too.
Equipment and all that to turn. No, I DJ to this day, but like Tony said, and I'm sure every one of us on this panel has experienced at one time or another the agony of defeat, as well as the thrill of victory. But we persevered and we kept it going. And I believe without that spirit, hip hop wouldn't be here today. You know what I mean? And our competitions were competitive, definitely competitive, but friendly. Okay, we never, I never wanted to kill Bambaataa. Maybe a flesh wound or something. But there was never the kind of animosity that would, pit us against each other in life. This was all about hip hop.
Theodore, did you want to add to this? I saw you had the microphone for a second. Okay.
When we was L Brothers, we
Simon, y'all got to give us more, man. We can't hear ourselves.
This is hip hop.
we acting, we feeling like we fighting to talk through these mics because we can't hear ourselves.
1 2. I remember when we was L Brothers, Bambaataa let us come to Bronx River for the battle. So it was myself, my brother Mean Gene, and my brother Cordio, and we had 3 MCs, Master Rob, Ruby D, and Busy B. Starsky. Now, we brought our equipment in, Bambaataa set up on the stage, and they put us in a little corner in the back and stuff like that. And the party got so packed, it's like at a blink of an eye, Bronx River was so packed. So Bambaataa was playing music and, rocking the crowd. Then it was time for us to go on. My brother Mean Gene, he's the kind of person where he's like always filling them with stuff and moving this and moving that and pushing this over here and pushing that over there. So we was given a table that night, and the table wasn't really that stable. So after Bambaataa and them finished playing, they turned the music down and said, okay, L Brothers, it's you guys' turn. I got to play one record, and My brother must have pressed something under the table, and the whole entire table hit the floor. One side of the table went down, and it's like everything just slid off of it onto the floor. Bam! The two turntables, the mixer, the amp, everything just slid on the floor and said, bam! And I was like, Bam, we can't play no more. We have to go. We just packed our stuff up. They made a little way for us in the Bronx River, a little pad for us. It's like after we packed our stuff up, it's like Bambaataa just raised his hand and the seat just opened up. And they let us out of Bronx River, and we just packed that stuff, and we was just gone. That's one of my memories, man.
To summarize, everybody lost against Bam.
I got a question here actually from the web for Dr. Shante, and it relates to the topic. The question is, as the mistress of the diss, what was the most disrespectful thing that was ever said to you? And second question, a follow-up, if I may. Then, what was the flyest diss you ever told somebody else?
I would say the most disrespectful thing that was ever said to me was, I didn't win. And the reason why I'm going to say that is because it took so long for me to get one of the fellas that I felt was truly, truly one of the greats, and that is Busy B. And none of the fellas would ever battle me. Why? I didn't know. But finally, I was able to get one to agree. He was like, yeah, all right, so you want to battle Roxanne? It's cool. Don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? You just a little girl. Come on up here. You know what I'm saying? This right here is Super Rocker Busy B. You don't even know what you're getting yourself into, girl. I'm going to make you cry and da-da-da.
That's him.
I said, good. I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be great. And this was actually for World Supremacy. This was at the DMC. This was at the seminar. This was like a really big deal internationally. It was going to prove that I was the best in the world. So I was really looking forward to it because I didn't come in the industry to be a great female rapper. I came in the industry because I am a great rapper. So that's where it stood. And this was going to finally be an award that didn't say greatest female rapper. This was just going to say World Supremacy Greatest Rapper. Oh yeah, I got to have that. I have to have that. So we get into a battle. Now behind the scenes, he says to me, listen, we're going to take it easy on each other. That's what we're going to do. We're going to just do it up for the crowd. So I say, okay, we could do that. I won't go in as hard as I usually go in. I'm going to be nice. I'm still going to win, but I'm going to be nice. We get out there. I'm being nice, and, my crew is looking at me like as if I'm a boxer throwing a fight. Like, what are you doing? And I'm still trying to be nice, and then all of a sudden, he says something like, yeah, you're a little girl, you should go home, such and such and such, and they don't leave you alone. Whatever the case was, I felt like, oh, you going back on your word? Oh, that's what you're doing? And from that point on, I think I said, I must have hit him with everything but the kitchen sink. And I knew that I had won. I just felt deep down in my heart that I was a winner. The crowd was going crazy, said I had won and everything else. And it came to one vote from Curtis Blow. And Curtis looked at me and said, it ain't no way she didn't win, and raised it up. And I think that was the first time I had ever cried. Because I had no reason to cry. Because when you walk away winning, you don't really cry. But that was the first time I had ever cried at a battle. And I think now it has become like one of the most popular battles downloaded from the internet and all this other stuff. But basically, if I had to say when was my major hurting point or the most disrespectful thing I felt was said to me, it wasn't all about the curses or the foul language, because I used it myself. So as well as I can give it is as well as I can take it. So that wasn't a problem. But just the fact to have, something so great I felt stolen from me, I was very upset. So every record from that point on was really nasty.
As an outsider who has heard this battle, there's no doubt that Roxanne won.
Thank you.
One, two. On another note, Ma, don't worry about it, because that was in 1985, right?
Absolutely.
The next year, 1986, I tore his ass up. All right?
Kaz, would you like to talk to the crowd for a bit about the creation of rhymes and the inspiration of rhymes and, you know, keeping a rhyme book and all that stuff, because it's important.
Well, basically, rhymes, the microphone didn't play as large a role in hip-hop in the early days as it is today and as it eventually became. The mic was basically used for making announcements and acknowledging the crew and people that was in the house. Shout outs. So-and-so is in the house. So-and-so is in the house. And if somebody said your name on the mic, you felt special. You know what I mean? The people would be like, you know them? Be like, yeah, you know. I carry it great. But writing rhymes became a real integral part of hip-hop, and it pretty much gave you the advantage over the next guy, whoever could say the flyest stuff. And at first, rhymes were very corny, if you really look back and listen to the cadence and the things that people were using and saying and copying off rhymes. One of the first rhymes in hip-hop was based on a car commercial. It was a commercial for Great Bear Auto Parts. And everybody's rhyme sounded like that commercial at first. And then eventually, I mean, you would do things to set yourself apart from the next person. My philosophy has always been, I'm a rhyme a MC that's built to the same mold as Roxanne Shante. I'm basically a battle MC. I'm here to take your heart away. I'm here to make you sorry you ever picked up a microphone, okay? And that's my whole mindset when I write. And I once said that I don't care if God and the 12 disciples come down here to battle me, I'm busting their ass. He could send me to hell, but I'm busting their ass, all right? And to write, I mean, it's just about going beyond. You have to take it to a level where nobody is at. And I think the way that you do that is by incorporating your own personality and imagination into writing and into rhyming. Slick Rick is pretty much basically known as one of the greatest storytellers of all time. But like 10 years before Slick Rick ever touched the microphone, I wrote rhymes that were basically stories that drew pictures for people, that made you listen to them and feel like you were a part of that story. And you followed it along the way, and it has hills and valleys and peaks, and it's like and you follow it all the way till its conclusion. And at the end of its conclusion, you stand up, you cheer, you happy, and you remember that. So to this day, I have people stop me in the street and recite my rhymes back to me. And I'm talking about, I don't have a large recording profile. Never had no gold, platinum records or whatever, you know, to speak of, but my rhymes are remembered verbatim from like the early 70s, all, you know, and that's just a testament to writing and to having something creative to say, you know, because anybody can rap today. There's so many examples that you have to go by. There's so many guidelines that have been drawn. There's so many, you know, extraordinary people who've come and drawn a blueprint for you. So when somebody hands me a demo today, or somebody says, yo, you got to hear this guy, he's good. I'm like, he better be good. What else can you be when you got 30 years of hip hop to guide you? You know what I mean? But I think even though with the advent of freestyling in hip hop, people be like, yeah, freestyling. Freestyling to us back then was just saying a rhyme that wasn't attached to a record or something, or say a rhyme that was just a rhyme for the sake of that rhyme. Today, freestyling is rhyming off the top of your head. And I don't think that's really an art form. It's more of a novelty to me. Freestyling was invented by people who don't remember their rhymes. Okay? Freestyling, came about from people who really, can't really write well or just forget what to say and then just start babbling intermittently. Some people have gotten good at that. But I think a complete thought-out thought is better than off the top of your head any day.
Yeah.
You saying that to say what?
What?
Nothing.
For the DJs, talk a little bit too about the development of the sound of hip hop.
Well, actually, oh
no. The sound of hip hop is big, When we do things, we like to bring our own sound. We like to set up our own sound because we like to play it like it need to be played, and so people could actually feel the passion behind it. From age 12, I ran back into a burning house to get my amp at the age of 12. And my mother was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'll be right back." And I ran in there and I saved my receiver because I said, okay, I probably could get everything else, but that's probably going to be the hardest thing for me to get. So right now I'm a hip hop junkie. I'm a equipment junkie. I still buy equipment. And, I got a whole garage full of equipment. But that's like, when you putting your whole thing together, that's part of your whole thing. A lot of DJs today, they walk in with their laptop and hook it up to somebody else's sound system. Back in the days, you had to have your own sound system to compete. And if your sound system wasn't up to par, that meant you wasn't up to par. So your DJs had to be up to par, your MCs had to be up to par, and your sound system had to be up to par, your record collection, everything on the menu had to be up to par. And if it wasn't, then you wasn't. You had to keep trying. Speakers, this one speaker might cost $2,000. Back in the days, we didn't have, even today, we don't have $2,000 for one speaker. So we used to try to build our own speakers and hope they sound good. We buy somebody else used stuff. Theodore might have something and he getting something better. So we buy his hand-me-down and, continue to push. So, a lot of people today, they think just walking in with their laptop is enough. And we look at them and like, nah, that's not enough. Because, out of 100 DJs, you might have like 60% of them that even know how to plug in turntables. And, it's a crying shame that, they claim to love something so much, but they don't even look past just playing the records and, really try to understand what they're getting into. Like Cass said, a lot of people say they will champion freestyling, but if you ask them to write a rhyme or something, they can't. So, some people are like, well, I'm going to push that to the side because I can't do that, but I'm going to yell this out so people can think this is the better thing to do. And it's not because, whoa, sorry.
Well,
so, it's like, you're not really respecting what you're doing. That's like you lying to a person because I'm a DJ, but you don't even know how to set up turntables.
Well, what about the music, though, like in terms of the kinds of music that y'all chose?
Well, the music, when we first started, it was jazz, funk, rock and roll. It was no hip-hop music. And when Herc or Bambaataa put on a record, they didn't say, this is a white guy's record or this is a Latin guy's record. They just played the music and we enjoyed it. A lot of people ask me, well, when hip-hop started, was it a black thing? And I was like, how could it? We listened to all kinds of music. And I really think people shouldn't try to put labels on everything, because some of the greatest hip hop records, Dennis Coffey, Bob James, Etta James, Santana, Jay Giles Band, Babe Ruth, Baby Huey. And these might be a lot of people that a couple of people in here might not have heard of, but that their music was the beginning of hip hop. So, it's like today when young kids hear records and they got these James Brown sample in it, and then when they hear James Brown record, they say, oh, that's Jay-Z's record. No, it's not. So, our purpose is to teach and to keep on teaching, because people rather look at what's here now and say the old, James Brown is copying. No, he's not copying. They using James Brown music. Get it right, And then some people will say, well, it was rap before hip hop. James Brown was rapping.
That's right. It's true.
But I say, well, James Brown, Marvin Gaye, why would you want to call them rappers when you've been calling them soulful singers all this time? Why you want to take them and make them rappers now? Just because hip hop is supposed to be like the hottest thing now. Let them be who they are, And when I met Roy Ayers and Norman Connors, and I looked at them and I said, yo, hip hop owe y'all something. But they don't even understand what they gave to hip hop. They don't even know, because, people are so caught up on the now and they don't do their history to understand the music that we was playing. And we played it because we love it. We love it till the day. And it's like, oh, well, that's your grandmother's music. But when people in the hip hop, people was back in the hip hop parties, they didn't look at it as old people music. Oh, that's jazz. No, they just look, yo, that's funky. I got to go out and get that. And that's what it is.
Yep. Well, good. Just giving a little brief history of turntables or rap before it was called hip hop. Dealing with turntables first, you had the turntables that your grandmother and them used to have, where you used to wind it up like you used to see on the old RCA Victor label with the big horns sitting up there, where they used to do they bebop swing and all that. Then coming in the 60s, you finally got, as a little kid, this type of turntable that they call close and play, which had the big little needle that you put on. And then you had the turntables that came all together in a component set with your TV, where you try to put on a 45 and the needles start going, and you might want to put it in a certain spot, and needles just keep going, come back. Or you might have the spindle where you put 6 45s on, and you hear the record, everybody dance at the party, then it stopped, everybody got to wait for the next record to drop, and then it's going, something like what you seen on Happy Days in the jukebox. And then they started breaking up the turntables where you could have the speaker and put the wire here, one little speaker in the house there, another speaker there, before they had all this quadraphonic sound and all that. And you had your component set, a little wooden set with Stu. You had the same with the needle, go across, and the spindle come down. And we used to give party, your mother or father might smack in your head, you trying to steal the turntable to take it to the center to play. But this is how we used to start playing before you had the two turntables together. We used to take the component set that your mama had or your papa had, put it on one side of the hallway, like here where you're going to play. Then another person would come with their mama or papa set and stick it on the other side. So you might have the spindle that you have to drop, or you have the one spindle where you take the 6 one on and put the 1 on. So when you're playing, I might be playing I Want You Back by the Jackson 5, and I knew it's going to the end, and it's dark, you have your little light, so you flash your flashlight to the other guy on the other side, and he know to hurry up and put the other record, and hoping that it's not going to cross over so you could keep the party moving. So that was before, when the whole disco era started coming in, and you started getting the 2 turntables in the component set, and you start getting the mixer in it, and then on the side you start having something if you wanted the echo chamber, or in the disco days they started adding the smoke chambers to make it look more like you was in some type of space alien type of party, you know. And at that time, you know, we was getting tired of hearing disco, 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 because in the black Latino community, dances changed every 3 months. But here, you know, a lot of the Europeans and Americans was, white Americans was starting to get in there and just wanted to hustle for this year. We said, okay. They want to hustle again for the second year. We said, all right, we already doing the funky chicken, the breakdown, the penguin, and all these other dances, but they still want to hustle. And then they got away from the funk. You know, they wasn't playing James Brown no more, Sly and the Family Stone, War, Mandrill. They started playing the Queen, Donna Summer, the Bee Gees, and all these other type of songs. So it was a fight trying to keep that happening, and only a few artists could switch over, like Diana Ross. You know, she became the boss, and we started playing all her music. But this, you know, and that's when we started using both turntables, and we started elevating to more big speakers, making our own home sets, putting our own speakers in there, drilling, you know, getting your own drill and sticking the speaker in there and hoping it was going to sound right, until we started getting some money from the party that you made before, and that's how we started becoming young entrepreneurship at the age of 12, 13, 14, and starting to rent centers at that time. And what we couldn't rent, we used to go get our big brother or somebody we knew that's of age to go in and rent the center for us. And that's when we started making money with this new style of music that we was calling go off or boing, or we took it back from the jazz swing or the bebop, diddy bop. You know, and in the Zulu Nation, we used to always go and name places. So we go play in Yonkers, we say, that's Jitterbug City. Or we go to a junior high school, is 123, we say it's the Funky 3. Then we used to have certain production names that we would call ourselves. So we say Nubian Production. Then I used to run around just start naming everybody, naming this and this and this and this and that. And then my brothers, who was down with me from the Black Spades by Keith Cowboy, used to be rocking his rhymes with the hip. Love Bostowski used to do the hip, another Black Spade brother of mine. And when the time came around and the press started getting into it, you know, they was asking, what do you call this stuff? I could have called it boing or bebop. I said, oh, we call it hip hop. And then that's when we started putting the elements together, because everything was spattered out. So due to Universal Zulu Nation, we said, you know, come on, DJs, you part of this culture. You are element of this. Come on, B-boys, B-girls, you part of this culture. You are element of this. Come on, MCs and aerosol writers, graffiti writers, you part of this element, which was the four elements that we started calling hip-hop. The Universal Zulu Nation pulled together as that. And then I added that fifth element, which was the knowledge. It's really the first element that holds it all together, because without knowledge, you break your damn neck if you was trying to really do the B-boy, B-girl thing. And without knowledge, when you try to aerosol or spray paint, you could get the fumes in it, and you know, wouldn't know how to breathe and know how to get out there the same way when you were spitting a rhyme, if you didn't know how to hold that breath. And this is a master that could go like 15, 20 minutes, him and Melly Mel. That is amazing when you see them start going off, and they could tell you how you have to hold your breath at a certain time, or you might, you know, catch a stroke or something, or a heart attack. So, and that's how you dealt with that. Now with rap music, or rap itself, rap has always been here. When the Creator talked to the prophet, he was rapping. Okay, so now we're going to bring it up to the early days of the 40s and 30s when Cab Calloway was doing Hottie Hottie Ho. They was doing their style of diddy bop jazz rap, and Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, which the bebop diddy bop swing and making the bottles break and all type of crap like that, scat rap. And then you had when it came to the Last Poets, the poetry style rappers. You had the Last Poets on the East Coast, and you had the Watts Prophets on the West Coast. Then you had a sister by the name of Nikki Giovanni, who also was very powerful with the knowledge type of poetry rap she was doing. And you had Sonia Sanchez, who was doing her style of rapping. Then we have the party rap of the 60s, where you had Shirley Ellis with 369, the Goose Drink Wine, the Monkey Chew Tobacco on the Streetcar Line, you know, all that, and the Name Game, Shirley, Bo Burley, the Mama, and all that type of stuff. And then you had Isaac Hayes, who did his little love, baby, I wanna, you know, take your time to finish. Then you had Barry White, who came out and also did the same thing Isaac Hayes was doing. You had in the rock music, you had Three Dog Nights, who did Mama Told Me Not to Come, which they was rapping. They also did Joy to the World. You had the country rapping with Tony Joe White, who did Polk Salad Annie, or you had the country rapping when they just sound like they're rapping. They was rapping. You could go back into the Music Man, if many of y'all have seen this with Robert Preston, when he was talking about, oh, you got trouble right here in River City, that stands for T, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for poo. So that's dealing with Robert Preston and the Music Man. Then you had the rapping that the boy, crazy boy, get cool, boy, which was dealing with West Side Story. And then you got the Sly and the Family Stone when he was rapping on his album. And then you got the Nubian Nut George Clinton when he was rapping on his album. And then you had James Brown with callers saying, can I get it? Can I get it and quick? Yeah. Can I get it? Hit it! You know. And then it came up to us where it came to Kool Herc, myself, Grandmaster Flash, and all the great pioneers, what we call this whole cultural movement, hip hop.
I just want to say that as far as like your question, as far as the sound of hip hop, I think that's it's important that people know that this man, Afrika Bambaataa, is the person who gave us our soundtrack. He broadened our horizons as far as the music that we were seeking. Herc pretty much gave us the way in the early days in break beats. Okay, we're looking for breaks. We're looking for that part of the song that the singing stops and the melodies drop out and the drums take over. Okay, that's the part of the song we dance off. That became, the music and the soundtrack for hip hop. But after a while, everybody's playing James Brown and George Clinton and everybody the same music. Bambaataa's the first one that said, hey. Why don't y'all look outside of the scope of where you're looking now? Look into some calypso music. Why don't y'all check out some of this jazz music? Bambaataa was the first DJ to play reggae music in hip-hop jams, okay? So he's the one that really made us look outside of our normal scope of music, even though we already had a better view of music than most because we look back. And today, people don't look back in music, they look forward. And so we were enriched to know about groups like the Detroit Emeralds and Joe Cuba and Mandrill and all of these places that we didn't normally look for music. So Bam is responsible for that. Y'all need to know that.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Kaz just said, not only was Bam responsible for that, but he was also responsible for sharing that with us. I mean, like Tony said earlier, this was the era when our era was about DJing. It was about the DJ. Don't ever let anybody tell you differently. It was about the DJ and the evolution of the DJ and what everybody in the stage brung something different to help elevate that craft where right now I stand astounded when I see these young kids doing absolute acrobatics on turntables. It makes me just stare in awe because I remember when me and Kaz got our first sound system, it was like belt drive Kenwood turntables. And for us to even hold on to a record, we had to first tape a penny or a nickel to the head of the needle. And then second thing we did was we used to take old album covers and stencil out the record and make our own slip mats. So, I mean, whoever came later on and invented that craft owes us royalties.
Yeah.
So, no doubt. But Bam brung not only that, he brung a sense of community, a sense of brotherhood, a sense of something more. I said earlier that hip-hop has been my true inspiration, and I don't lie when I said that. I really mean that. I mean, Herc did what Herc did, but Herc wasn't a brother that was going to stand there and share any of his records with you, or you know what I'm saying, or really extend his hand to you in that way. But I remember the first time me and Kaz was playing at 123, and Bambaataa was in the background. I mean, we almost peed at our pants. We said, oh, Bambaataa's here. I mean, we pulled out like every eclectic record we had. And, right? And look, he's still there. He's still there. And then after the jam, he hung around. And we were wiring up our stuff and packing it up. And we talked about records like it seemed like forever, man. And I mean, and Kaz's like, yo, what's the name of this joint that goes, da-na-na-na-na-na-na? And the other joint goes, I mean, he just like spit off a whole catalog of names of records and where to go get them and so forth and yada, yada, yada. And those are the things that were very, you know, very like meaningful to us as younger cats, you know what I mean? Coming up and you know, trying to be under the tutelage of Herc and Bambaataa, you know what I mean? That was real, like real to us.
Also, most people must know with hip-hop music, you got to know that it has evolved. Most people, when they say hip-hop, they really don't know what they're talking about. When you say hip-hop, you're talking about the whole movement of hip-hop. But if you're talking about hip-hop music, you got to know that you also talking about beats per minute that could be slow down. You could be talking about the electro funk, which is the Planet Rock type sound. You could be talking about trip hop. You could be talking about drum and bass or jungle or hip step. You could be talking about Rio funk or Bali funk from Brazil. You could be talking about the other international flavors of hip hop. That's why, through the Zulu Nation, we've been attacking a lot of these so-called hip hop and R&B radio stations who are really jiving the people. We saying bring the balance of Mayat back to the station. Stop playing the same 10, 15 records over and over and over again. And see, many of y'all got to get up and stand up. If y'all keep sitting there and let them keep playing certain things, like they keep saying, well, the people don't want to hear that. They want to hear just gangster rap. No, this is what you programming as a program director to program the minds of the masses of the people. Keep trying to put this type of stuff in their heads. And this is why the different situations that we are getting in today, where you think you can't control your kids or the youth of today. Because if you keep letting them just hear the same thing over and over, I mean, I had a meeting, I had to ask all these people who came to the meeting, and it was packed. And I told all these people, y'all say you love Allah, Jehovah, Jah, Jesus, all these names, all these religions, the mosques, the temples, the churches, and said, and y'all sit on your butts and let these stations, program directors keep doing what they doing, then you deserve what you get. So somebody smack you upside your head, rape your daughter, run in your house, and shoot you down because you didn't get up off your butt and get out there and do something. So you deserve what you get. So people must have to organize and start challenging these so-called radio stations. We saying we not to play the old with the new with the old. We don't care if it's country, western, metal, rock, house, techno, salsa, soca, reggae, jazz, anything. Challenge all these radio stations and say, listen, I want to hear the old with the new with the old. If you're going to play something about kill, 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 then play me something about love. What's the wrong with you can't play Delphonics with R. Kelly, Rolling Stones with Limp Bizkit?
I want to actually, we have probably time to get through one more question, and we want to make sure that Joe gets to show his photos, which everybody needs to see. You know, I want to give him a little bit of time to do that. So I want to kind of go back a little bit. You were talking about the elements, and Wiz, you're talking about, you know, community. And I think today a lot of the themes have been around the fifth element of knowledge and the idea of building community. And I think a lot of folks have a lot of questions here from the web, from the cards and that kind of stuff, asking advice. But I think they all boil down to, like, there's a lot of different individual issues, homophobia in hip-hop, women in hip-hop, all these different types of issues. I think it boils down to, what do we need to do? We've developed the four elements very deeply, In some cases, there's a lot of money being made off of some of those elements. What do we need to do as students of hip-hop to develop knowledge and continue to help develop the community? And I actually want to pose it over there to Dr. Shante and also to Fabo, who's because you got your PhD and you do a lot of master teaching. So we could start there.
Well, there's no one correct answer, or there's no one solution to it, because there are so many individual problems with it. My main focus is that I always believed in the fact that education is something that needs to be more so implemented and brought on the forefront. A majority of our most successful rappers are actually college graduates, but they don't usually say that because they feel that saying that they graduated from college is not the cool thing to do, or that's not the type of information they want to put out there, because they know that an educated consumer is going to choose wisely what they purchase. So therefore, they want to keep people ignorant to what's going on, so therefore they don't put it out there. Another thing also that I felt needed to be told is that myself, Pebbly Pooh, and a lot of other female rappers who have participated in this culture, this wonderful thing called hip-hop, have never ever really seen the glory or the accolades that I felt that were deserved because of the hard work that we put in and the support that we put in behind our brothers, beside our brothers, and sometimes even in front of our brothers. And the main thing now, to find out that the most influential vision of a female in hip-hop happens to be the video chick is devastating to me. To know that I have went to parks and have, got put on punishment, went through spankings, went through fights, you name it, went through beefs and everything else, just so that here it is 20 years later, the most influential female vision in hip-hop is the video chick. To have someone say, oh, do you know who's really hot now? And I'm like, well, yeah, tell me, because I have a radio station. I have an independent radio station called ESP51.com. And what we do is we're not politically controlled, so therefore we play all the hip-hop you won't hear anyplace else. And to have that being said, they said, one of the children said to me, he said, well, her name is Buffy, and she's really, really hot. So I said, well, what type of rhymes does she say? Like, I've never heard of her as a female rapper. I've never heard of her. Oh, no, she's in a video. And to have that be said was really heart-wrenching, where I think what they need to do is set a standard on, again, incorporating education. It's very, very important. So if they decided to say to all these young little girls who aspire to want to become these video chicks because they think that these girls really ride off in the sunset with these rappers, and they think that these girls really get these cars and these rings and these fur coats, and they live in these big houses and open up these doors for these rappers, when they do not, when everything in the video is rented. The fact is, we need to at least say, if you want to become a video chick, the minimum level is at least 2 years of college. So at least they will aspire to say, okay, if we get all the major artists to say, well, in order to have a chick in our video, she has to at least have a minimum of a certain amount of college credits, so that these little girls can aspire to say, well, at least I got to get a minimum of credits before I can get in the video. So that's what I'm going to do, because I don't want to be a GED video hoe. I want to be the college version, because I hear the college version gets paid more an hour. So the fact is, if we're able to even implement that on such a small scale, where they say, okay, our sessions are closed out unless you have this. Because believe it or not, their closest circle, the circle of people that they trust the most, are well educated. So right now, to see you guys here, know for a fact that you are taking the right steps, not just for yourself, but just the right steps in life. Because education is very important. And had someone told that to me sooner, then even though I have now obtained what it is I feel that I've obtained thus far, because I am what I am today, but I'm not what I'm going to be tomorrow. So the fact is, education is very, very important, and I think we need to start with that.
I agree 200%. I think that knowledge starts with knowledge of self before anything else, knowing who you are. And knowing your importance in the whole scheme of things, and not just hip-hop, and life in general. And some people aren't privileged to have that kind of support in the house. So it's still not an excuse, because we now live in an era of information and technology where you can jump on the internet and YouTube things all night long and Google your heart away, you know? But I think in terms of hip-hop specifically, some of the efforts, for instance, like, you know, Nas said hip-hop was dead, right, recently. I said it 10 years ago. And I said it in a lecture 10 years ago for shock value. And then I clarified myself and I said, what's really dead about it is that there are no block parties anymore. There's no jams. That is, the essence of hip-hop starts at a jam. Because why? It's communal. You have people all ages there, grandmothers, like I mentioned before. That's where you grab a protege and mentor him. That's where a young kid looks for a teacher. And that sort of thing isn't happening that often. So again, I got to give props to my wife and the whole Tools of War movement, which I helped co-found. Because, and not only her, but, you know, crazy, you know, Rocksteady crew, we always have one free joint every Sunday. We have a four-day event, the Rocksteady anniversaries, and the last day is always a free jump-off, you know? And that's where people can see with their own eyes really wholesome, clean fun. You know what I mean? Secondly, I think that we need to start meeting our youth halfway. You know, I did the after-school program thing, the CBOs, community-based organizations, et cetera, for years. I was a site director at CS4 across the street from Cortona Park Pool for 3 years in the summer. I turned it into a hip-hop camp, basically, you know, where we needed an academic component to it, so I hired 3 teachers to teach some of the subjects. Some students were mandated. They had to go to that. It's like a summer school thing, but I wanted to keep it fun as well, the edutainment. So I hired a graffiti writer, but we called him a muralist. Yeah, you got to be politically correct, especially when you deal with the Board of Ed. You know, sometimes you got to be stealth about it, right? So the point is, I got a muralist, I got a b-boy to teach the dance element of it, you know what I mean? And I try to incorporate as much hip-hop as, and I had a spoken word person come in that had a hip-hop flair. So we rocked that for like 3 years, very successful, you know? Then another example I want to give is that I worked at another junior high school in the Bronx. I was all over the place, by the way, from Bed-Stuy to the Bronx to Queens to Harlem. They had me all over the place. This one particular foundation I worked for. And by the way, that's where I found out how, you know, how the school system is in total shambles. I mean, it is really bad. So I went to this one school in particular, my first day there, and we were teaching a curriculum called Media Smart Youth, where we were trying to engage students on learning about the things they eat, you know. So my job was to add a hip-hop element to that. So first day there, the world studies teacher says, "You must be the hip-hop guy." I said, "Yeah, that's me." And he, you know, I'm not gonna front, the boy was kind of like on the geeky tip, you know, this nerdy like world studies dude, right? So I was like, "Who are you?" He said, "Well, I teach history here, etc." I said, "That's cool." He said, "Well, you know what? I want to share something with you." And he shared his lesson plan. He was, I think, teaching them about Africa and Egypt and stuff like that. And he said, "What do you think of this?" And he started, it was a rhyme. His whole lesson plan was a rhyme. Okay, it definitely wasn't Grandmaster Caz material, but I'm saying he made an effort, and I said, "So, I mean, how did they do?" He said 80% of them passed. And prior to that, it was not 80%. He was having a real hard time engaging the students, you know. So that blew my mind totally. I said, look at this guy, he's a Caucasian man, totally understood that this is a very powerful tool, and saw the potential in it to implement a little rhyme and, you know, entice the students and rock it. And I think that even with simple solutions like that, like Shantae said, you know, it's Dr. Shantae, pardon me, you know, it's really about being about it. We can theorize all day, you know, hypothetically, this, that, and the third. Unless you roll up your sleeves and get in the trenches and get dirty and work with the youth in the streets and find interesting ways to use hip-hop as more than just party and bullshit and the same bullshit we do all day. If you go to a hip-hop jam and all you got out of it was picking up a girlfriend or a boyfriend and you go home with nothing else, guess what? That's not enough. That's not enough. So we need to really realize the full potential of this culture and implement it and make it happen.
Like I said earlier, I am sorry that our parents didn't step in when we first started doing hip hop or jamming or whatever, and really get like involved in what we were doing. It might be a different picture now if they had, you know. And a lot of parents, you know, they seem like they scared to get involved in their kids' life. And so the kids just go all kinds of direction following the wrong people. So I think a lot of parents need to get into their kids' life and really say, what's that? And learn about what they're doing and who their kids are. You know, a lot of people don't like to own up to the thing that they do wrong. They always want to blame somebody else. And you got to be accountable for what you do. And a lot of people need to wake up and say, okay, I want to lead a positive life. Because I don't think nobody wake up and say, yo, I want my day to be negative. So people need to really start looking at who they are and trying to be responsible for the actions that they want to put out there or do or whatever. But a lot of people don't. And a lot of parents just let their kids go crazy. You know, when I hear kids cursing at their parents, I've never disrespected my mother till the day. I have never disrespected my mother. And when I hear about kids disrespecting their mother and stuff, I don't understand it. You know, people call me from other cities and they say, Tone, we need you and the Zulu Nation to come out here and we got a bad gang situation out here. And I say, all those kids that's in gangs gotta have parents. You know, what are the people doing in the community? Those are your kids. You know, but it just seemed like they scared to talk to their kids. And I wish we could go to Nebraska and places like that and sit down and talk to every kid, you know, because our area was gang-ridden when we started it, but we took it upon ourselves to say, okay, this is not going to make it. We got to change this, you know, and, you know, it's the community and people got to say, hold up, those are my kids. Those are our kids, and start talking to them at home instead of just let them run out in the street and do whatever. And then when you get a call that your kid is laying on the corner dead, then you want to say, well, I should have did more. Mm-hmm. You got to talk to your kids, and you got to show them that you got confidence enough to talk to them, so they have confidence enough to talk to you. So, you know, I think that's what's a big thing. I think people really need to say. Yeah.
Tony Tone. Let's give it up for all our panelists. Thank you very much. And I don't want y'all to leave. But let's please give it up for our panelists. Joe Conzo, Dr. Roxanne Shante, Popmaster Fable, Disco Wiz, Pebbly Pooh, Tony Tone, Grand Wizard Theodore, Grandmaster Kaz, Afrika Bambaataa. We want to bring, we're going to have Joe here talk a little bit about the photos. This is the heart of the collection that's going to be here at the Cornell University Library. And we want to have Joe talk a little bit about what he's got here. One thing I want to say is, you know, we talk a lot about what a hip-hop worldview looks like from the ground up. This is a person who really began seeing that in many ways itself. And so we're actually seeing the beginnings of hip-hop through Joe's eyes in these photos. So let's give it up for Joe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. What I'm going to try and do for the next 5-10 minutes is just all the stories that you heard the pioneers speak about, I'm going to try and bring you back there with my photos, okay? Add the visuals to their stories, to their history. And first, I want Charlie Ahern to stand up and take a bow. Charlie Ahern had the foresight back then to do a movie called Wild Styles, and you know, 25 years later, we're celebrating, you know, his seminal movie Wild Styles. And this photo was actually taken at the Dixie Club with the Cold Crush brothers, Tony, Easy A.D., KG, JDL, and a young, good-looking Grandmaster Caz there, Slim, and Charlie Ahern there. What? This was our neighborhood. This was our neighborhood growing up. You know, as Sean pointed out earlier, many people, you know, the Bronx was burning. Well, to a lot of us, the Bronx was already burnt. And, you know, this was, you know, our neighborhood, and this is where the culture of hip-hop grew out of. You know, we took something out of nothing and made it into something big. These are our little angels. These are, you know, the kids back there, innocent. And I walked around, you know, I was a chubby little kid with a big Angela Davis afro that you'll see later on. And I just took pictures of my neighborhood, you know, not only hip-hop, just everything around me. And this is the beauty, you know, that I captured back then. This is a photo of a young Afrika Bambaataa, DJ Charlie Chase, a young DJ Red Alert, and an MC Powwow sitting in the back there. And this was the scene behind the ropes, you know, when we were playing our music. This is Roseland Ballroom downtown. 81, 82, Cool Lady Blue, who couldn't make it up here, was instrumental in bringing hip-hop from the Bronx downtown. And Roseland is a very big and famous club downtown. Yeah, 4,000 people. And we used to pack it. We used to bring our shows down there and pack it. And this is one of the earliest pictures I have of a cipher. Right, JoJo? Young kids of the South Bronx, I call this the wannabe B-boys of the South Bronx. And, you know, it's all about what you were wearing back then, your attitude, and how you projected yourself. So, again, the B-girls, same thing. Yeah, that's Gina. I ended up marrying one of these girls here, having a kid. Remember Tony, Gina? Anyway, it's just, you know, our fashion back then, and see the guy ogling the girls from back there. I wonder why. And it wasn't cold that day either, so. Next. I don't know if, can anybody tell me what he's doing there besides sitting on the curb? Actually, exactly, who said that? Yeah, we actually, you know, we used to take string and everything and put gum and a weight at and lower it into the sewers to pick up quarters. Yep. And he's actually sitting there on top of a sewer lowering a string to get the quarters and dimes and everything that had fallen out of, you know, somebody's pocket. Times were rough back then. Yeah. This picture is taken in Francigo Park. This was at a Tito Puente jam. And it's just, thank you. And it's just, music affects all ages, and that's the beautiful thing about music. And here we have two beautiful kids just enjoying the music of Tito Puente. This picture here is a famous picture. This picture appeared in the Chris Rock movie CB4, okay? Unbeknownst to me, I'm sitting in a movie theater one day watching this movie, and this picture goes, blew me away. But this was at my high school graduate prom at South Bronx High School, and, the Cold Crush Brothers performed there, and this picture has appeared in many books and publications. And that is the ultimate art of rhyming. 4 guys on 2 mics, improvise, overcome, and adapt, and Cold Crush Brothers made sweet music back then. Another one of my early shots of just friends in the street. Just, it's about attitude, the culture, dressing. This picture here, I'm known a lot for my hip-hop photos, but there's so many other photos. The late 70s, early 80s was about social change, social movement, and a lot of things were happening back then. My grandmother, the late Dr. Evelyn Antonetti, was known as the Hell Lady of the Bronx. She was instrumental in introducing the summer lunch programs in the streets of the South Bronx, bilingual education in public schools, and, whenever she didn't like something going on in the city, she did something about it. Well, this is during the movie Fort Apache, The Bronx, where blacks and Latinos were portrayed as pimps and whores and drug dealers and everything like that. And we took to the streets and demonstrated. I mean, we followed Paul Newman, may he rest in peace, all over. And we actually got a disclaimer in the movie, to say that this movie does not portray the Hispanic or the black people of the community as pimps, pushers, or whores. And this is just at one of the demonstrations. And coming from a strong family background, you could be 5 years old. You were going to a demonstration that day. You were going to protest. And this is one of the pictures I have from there. This is Grandmaster Caz on the turntables. Grandmaster Caz, and like you heard from him earlier, before he picked up the mic, he was on the turntable. And, he's one of those seminal DJs that can DJ and rhyme at the same time. So. This is a picture from my graduation. That's part of my Angela Davis afro there. It's my grandmother, my grandfather, and a Bronx politician named Ramon Velez. Another one of my famous Cold Crush Brothers pictures there. I mean, I hope my pictures are conveying, we were just having such a good time back then. Good time. I didn't know that 30 years later, they would be part of this archive here in Cornell, and it's just truly a blessing. These are the speakers that you hear Bam and Caz and Theodore and Tony speak about. This is, Tony, was this one of your biggest sets, or this was a small set?
Back then it was a big set.
It was a big set. It wasn't big enough to beat Bam, but, these are the, and Tony could tell you, they built these speakers. We didn't have money to go spend, and buy, Crown Vega speakers or anything like that. They built it, and that was Tony's thing back then. His
2 bottom ones, Jazzy J built those for me.
Yeah.
Jazzy J and Superman.
Yeah. So we took our stuff serious back then. We really did. Here's Tony DJing and Bam in the background and Chief Rocker Busy Bee in the background.
Yeah, Roxanne, go get him.
This is a typical jam in a school. This is Roosevelt High School. You see the rope? Nobody could come past that rope. But we filled this school up.
That rope meant so much.
Yeah.
It was like a wall. It was only this thin, but people ain't walking past that rope.
Yeah. And this is where we put on our shows. This is where, people saw, the rhyming. I mean, Grandmaster Caz wrote rhymes to Gilbert O'Sullivan. It's great. That's me. That's me. And photography for me was my outlet from the streets, you know. Girls love having to take their pictures taken, you know, at a young age. And, you know, Tony invited me to take pictures of his group, and it's just been a love affair ever since then. Last but not least, this is Charlotte Street. You know, Sean pointed earlier about when Reagan came to the South Bronx and made those comments about how it reminded him of burnt out Berlin, you know, bomb. And this was the famous Charlotte Street. And of course, we're demonstrating again because the president was in town. We put up the big Puerto Rican flag, and that was it. Yeah, that's our tour. So you know, I'm grateful that I'm here, and I'm truly blessed. And it's nice to see the visuals going along with the stories, the histories of this culture. And I'm just blessed that I was around at a time that, you know, these pioneers up here were making a difference, and I was able to capture it. So, thank you.
1, 2.
All right. Hello?
We almost over, right? I just want to do a commercial real quick. I know you guys, you know we're going to be around for the rest of the day. We got little performances later on and a little after party tonight. But right outside this hall, we have a few tables set up outside where we making available some of these copies of some of these archival things. We have some of the early live CDs from parties, from people like my group, the Cold Crush Brothers, and Grandmaster Flash, and Afrika Bambaataa, and all that. We have photographs, some of Joe Conzo's photographs right outside, prints on sale. So as you make your way outside, take some history home with you. All right? Peace.
All right. Check.